Good afternoon. Today is the 8th of January and I want to spend some time today talking about what are the manufacturers in 2018 who've made the greatest gains in the British car market and those who've made the greatest losses. It's quite an interesting little thing to see. So one of the biggest success stories of recent years has been MG. Today I'm back in my wife's 2014 MG3. I'm sure it's a car you've seen many times on the channel. And MG last year, their growth was over 100%. It was 103.76%, which is an enormous amount to grow by, considering what some of the manufacturers have lost. Mind you, this isn't a huge amount. It's a tiny sliver of the British car market, but nevertheless it's interesting. The next manufacturer who's seen a big growth is Mitsubishi. They're up 31.46%. Their new Eclipse Cross and the Outlander PHEV plug-in hybrid vehicle, they're doing very, very well at the moment. Another manufacturer that seems to be doing very well is Subaru. They are up 17.25%. I don't know exactly why that is. So again, they're a minority brand in this country. They're very big in America and Japan, but they're not so big over here. But they've gone up by 17.25%. Another one that surprised me is Abarth, or Abarth if you're British. They're a sort of sub-brand of Fiat, and they are up by about 26%, which is remarkable. Out of the sort of volume brands who've seen a big increase, Seat have gone up really, really high in the charts, and they've overtaken people like Peugeot and Citroën, and they're up by 12%, which is extraordinary. I mean, obviously I drive one of their cars. I've had one of them for 18 months. I'm very much in favour of Seat. I think they're really, really good. So I'm not sure I'm surprised. Nothing to do with the old Toledo though, that's been discontinued, but the Arona and the Ibiza, which were both kind of new last year, they've been doing really well. McLaren as well, other end of the market really, they're up by 10%. Volvo up by 9%, Jaguar by 4%. One of the manufacturers I'm always talking about a lot of people is Kia, and like MG and now SsangYong, they offer a 7-year warranty on their cars, and the Sportage crossover, that's done very well this year, and it's actually in 10th place in the overall sales chart. So now we get on to more marginal gains and actual losses. Mazda up by 1.3%. Toyota, they're actually down by 0.6%. It's still pretty strong because you've got to realise the overall market in 2018 was down by 7% in comparison with 2017. There are many reasons for that, and possibly in a future video I might go into what some of them probably are. Yes, in a market that's down overall by about 7%, any decline which is above that is still a good result. So Aston Martin is down by 1%, Peugeot is down by 1.3%, Mini is down by 1.7%, and BMW, sister brand to Mini, they're down by 1.74%. The BMW's decline is probably to do with these thing called the WLTP emissions figures, which has meant that certain vehicles had to be withdrawn from sale and weren't able to be put through as new cars. So that's probably something to do with it. Honda and Volkswagen, they're both down by about 2.5%, which again isn't too bad. Citroën is down by 3.6%. Now, Citroën haven't been doing very well recently. I like the styling of some of their cars, but they're in no way in the same sort of position as they were, perhaps, say, in the 1990s, when cars like the Saxo were extremely, extremely profitable for them, and they sold hundreds of them. I like to drive in a Saxo, for example. Dacia, they're down by about 4%. It's possibly because their cars are based on old Renault models, and they're not the most desirable things, but they're perfectly good, really. But a new model is coming out this year of the Dacia Duster, which has a 1.2 turbo engine, which possibly should lift their sales a little bit. Another trend that there seems to have been, apart from Abarth, in the Fiat Chrysler group, Jeep is the one that's made the least loss, which is about 4%. But there are other brands which languish much further down the list than that. Suzuki's down by 4.5%, but they're about to release their new Jimny, which looks really exciting actually, and also the revised Vitara. I drove a Vitara a couple of years ago. It's a superb car, which has a 1 litre turbo engine out of the SX4 S-Cross. That'll probably put their sales up a little bit. Mercedes-Benz down about 5%, Land Rover down about 6%, Skoda dipped down by about 7%. I think that's to do with the fact that the Skoda Rapid, which is the same car as a Seat Toledo really, that's not been a very good seller for them. It's kind of dated car. It's based on the last generation Polo, and although I think it's a very good car, it's not been that popular for them. And the new Scala, which is coming out next year, promises to be much better. Vauxhall are down by about 9%. They're not the most exciting cars, Vauxhall particularly, and traditionally they're not, but they are good quality cars, and I do hope that with this new takeover that they've had in recent years and from the French PSA group, that they will start doing better. It's always good to see a manufacturer which has a lot of plants in this country, particularly up at Ellesmere Port and on the Wirral, doing well. Next we have Lotus are down by about 10%, and Renault again down by 10%. It's funny how a lot of these French manufacturers are struggling seemingly. Porsche are down by about 11.5%, and the same as Ford. Ford, they haven't had the new Focus ST on sale this year. That might be something to do with it. The EcoSport, which is their sort of small crossover model, it's not a particularly good car in comparison to others. You know, you could buy a Stunning Tivoli for much less money than an EcoSport, and it's actually a better car in my opinion. Porsche have having problems with diesel, because diesel's not really flavour of the month anymore, as many of you know, and so they possibly will be doing better next year when they're releasing an electric car. Bentley's down by about 12%. That could be to do with the economic situation at the moment. People maybe not wanting to buy some luxury cars, I'm not sure. Alfa Romeo, another Fiat Chrysler brand, they're down by about 17%. It seems to be a general trend in their cars, apart from Abarth, as I said, don't seem to be doing too well, although their cars are pretty good, they're very nice. Audi are down by 18%, possibly it's down to sort of premium, sort of what they are, and you know, delays in getting these models for the new WLTP process. Fiat are down by about 20%. They don't really have any new models coming out next year, which is a bit surprising. They have a facelifted 500X with a new 1 litre 3-cylinder turbo engine, but I'm not sure that's really very exciting. SsangYong, for some reason, are down by 23%. I don't particularly know why, other than that their sales in Britain are so small at the moment, and they're likely to be so. And perhaps it's just not the most exciting thing to have, although I think their cars are great. Maserati's down by 24%. Smart's down by 26%. Nissan 32%. I think Nissans are perfectly good cars, and you know, they have a great plant in Sunderland, and the Qashqai is a very good car. But maybe they're not just that exciting. I mean, Qashqai are the top 10 bestsellers of the year, so I don't know quite what's happened about the rest of the range. DS, which is the luxury brand from Citroën and Peugeot, they're down by 45%. I've driven a DS, actually. I drove DS3 a few years ago. I thought it was actually quite a good car. I don't tend to like Citroëns and Peugeots that much, but they really have come on in quality over the last few years, and I wouldn't say necessarily I'd buy a DS at the moment, but I think they're perfectly good, and I hope, you know, that they do actually manage to turn that around. Infiniti is the biggest loss of all, is 79% drop in sales. That might be tied in with Nissan as well, because Nissan's their parent company. This, either though, is probably due to the fact they're a bit like SsangYong with a tiny dealership network. There's not many people who would buy those over a BMW or a Mercedes or a Jaguar. they surprisingly still in the market. I wouldn't be surprised if they pull Infiniti out of Europe at some stage, when Renault and Nissan are much profitable makes for them. Massive company in America, but not so much over here. So anyway, though, that is a list I got from the Auto Express website of the manufacturers that have been on the rise in 2018 and ones which have been on the decline in 2018. I hope that many of those brands that have been declining will do a bit better this year. But maybe tomorrow or something we'll look more into the top 10 best-selling cars for last year, and also we'll look into more detail some of the reasons why the general decline of sort of about 7% has happened. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe to the Lloyd Vehicle Consulting YouTube channel. Please have a look at my Facebook page, and if you'd like me to source a car for you, it doesn't have to be anyone I mentioned on the list, then please do get in touch and we'll see what we can do for you. Thank you ever so much indeed for watching.